All right, y'all, it's your boy Malik X, aka also known as the Professor. Here's a video I've been wanting to do for a long time. Here's yours truly, Uncle Booker Tom, on a podcast talking about WCW, and of course he mentioned Sting in that conversation. I also have a video queued up from a shoot interview that Sting did on why he didn't come to WWE, which in this conversation here is Booker T's viewpoint of why he thinks Sting missed out. So here we go. Let's give a listen.
It's tough to put other people first in this business of wrestling where everyone's trying to get themselves over. And I feel like sometimes if you're putting other people first, maybe you get left behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. You know, I've always been selfish, you know, as far as the wrestling part goes.
Well, at least he has some honesty. He says he's always selfish, but isn't every wrestler in some way, shape, or form selfish? We know every member of the Clique was selfish. We damn sure know Triple Bitch was selfish, because look where he is now. But anyway,
I've never been, unselfish enough to where I wasn't thinking about myself. You know, I'm always thinking about me. But you gotta be able to look at the bigger picture. You got to be looking at what things are, you know, just say, for instance, you know, the champ, you know, and I'm not the champ, you know, just say, for instance, the Rock is the champ. You know, it's my job to make the champ look, you know, as good as I possibly can, you know, and hopefully when I'm the champ, he's going to make me look as good as he possibly can.
And unfortunately, for you, Booker, that didn't happen, did it? Because on your debut, as we all know, The Rock made you look like shit. So how the hell could he make you look good as a champion when you got buried on your debut? But of course, as you see, Booker T, you know, he smiles a lot because, you know, he's the company house nigga. He's the company man, you know. So, hey, it is what it is. But let's keep going.
You know, so that's what I mean about, you know, being able to think about somebody else opposed to yourself at certain times. You know, don't think in the match, I'm not going to get my stuff in. You know what I mean? So, you better throw a hand up. You know what I mean? So it's like that. But a lot of times, you know, there again, you know, people are thinking about, you know, themselves and themselves only, and they miss the bigger picture of, you know, how do you actually make it to the next level? Me coming into from WCW to WWE, I say, man, you got to know how to make it in the locker room before you can make it in the ring. You know,
That's it.
All right, there's the first of the bullshit right there. Why do you have to make it in the locker room to make it in the ring? If you're already talented, you know, the locker room is irrelevant. But once again, and I'm going to use, I guess the kayfabe term, I think making it in the locker room is the kayfabe code for you need to learn how to kiss ass in the locker room, meaning you got to suck up to the veterans, or you got to, you know, bow down, you know, shake everybody's hand. And remember, Booker T, this is WWE. So, and here's the thing, you just said coming from WCW, where you were an established talent for what, 10 years or more? You went from Harlem Heat tag teaming to a solo star. So why the fuck do you have to make it in the locker room in a rival company when the fans and the majority of the wrestling world community already know who you are? So, see, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. You got to make it in the locker room. Now, if you're saying you got to kiss ass in the locker room, then I guess, like I said, that's the kayfabe code, you know. And from watching this bullshit, this interview, he laughs and smiles too goddamn much of my taste. So to me, he's sugarcoating what you really got to do to make it in the locker room. So, but let's continue.
Interesting. Well, and that's such a good point, because so many guys came from WCW and they were so incredibly successful in WCW, came to WWE and, you know, just like lost all their momentum. Were you worried that this would happen to you?
There again, you got to know how to make it in the locker room.
There again, that's bullshit. Basically, what you're saying is you got to learn how to kiss ass in the locker room. So see, and the host right there said, all these guys, all these talented guys in WCW coming into WWE, why do they have to make it in the locker room? Why do they have to start over? If the fans know who they are, they shouldn't have to start over. It doesn't matter where you come from. It is wrestling. The same fans, even in the Attitude Era, even when I watched Raw, I would see at least 5 or 6 or 10 people in the audience that had on WCW shirts. So they watch Nitro as well as watching the Warzone or SmackDown. Considering. So there shouldn't be no, you got to start over. You got to establish yourself and make it in the locker room, because this isn't, where you came from. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was 15 years or 10 years, even 5 years. If you got 5 years experience and you make something of yourself in the wrestling business, on WCW or wherever, any promotion that has a TV network deal, you shouldn't have to start over and establish yourself in Vince McMahon's circus. But continuing on.
Before you get into the ring, I was talent. You know what I mean? I knew that part. I wasn't worried about the match with Bagwell or anything like that. I knew I was talent. I knew I came in and they had plans for me and whatnot, and I was going to be there. But there again, I left all my WCW accolades in WCW, and I came there and I dressed in the locker room with all of the boys, and it might have been 30 of them, more, and after a while, I remember Taker asking me, "Hey man, come dress over here." And it was called the TV locker room, so I got invited into the TV locker room. I didn't just go and dress in the TV locker room. I remember a guy, not too long ago, a couple of years back, and I'm not going to say his name.
He got invited into a different dressing room just to change clothes. What kind of bullshit is that?
He lasted in WWE about a year or so. You'll be able to figure it out. And he came and he dressed. He was in the TV locker room, and I'm wondering in my mind, what the hell is he doing in the TV locker room? And he's hanging out in there with us, you know what I mean? He's kicking it and whatnot. And I told him, yeah, he was talking to me about, the guys in the other locker room. And I was like, man, forget those guys, man. Dress over here, man. I mean, man, who are those guys to tell you what to dress? And all I was doing was just stirring the pot. He didn't know I was getting him in more trouble.
Oh, so you're admitting that you were an asshole. There you go right there. Folks, he just admitted he was stirring the pot. He was manipulating a situation, getting somebody in trouble on purpose. Well, Booker T, you're basically admitting that you're more of a jackass than a lot of us thought you were. Wow. But again, I like your honesty.
Oh, man.
And then they ended up firing his ass. And, and he didn't know why he got fired. He didn't even know. He didn't even know he was getting heat, just by being in the TV locker room, and nobody invited him into the TV locker room.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. I'd like to know what the fuck is so special about the TV locker room as opposed to a regular locker room. I'm thinking maybe the TV locker room is the green room. Maybe it's the locker room that leads almost in a way, back way into the entrance, when you go to the ring. But, and the guy smiles and laughs just like I gotta say, I don't know. I'm gonna say he smiles and laughs just like the top house nigga in the big house, with the slave master. And of course, we all know who the slave master is, Vince McMahon. So basically, Booker T learned how to be the good houseboy real quick.
When you think of WCW, you're the poster child. You and Sting. I mean, there's a handful of others, but you're the poster child.
Oh, correction. I say Sting was the face of WCW, not Booker T. Sting. He was there long before Booker T and Harlem Heat. And folks, this has nothing to do with race. This just has to do with who the real stars of WCW were. And remember, before WCW was NWA, Ric Flair was the legendary face of WCW. But when Sting came along from the UWF years ago, he slowly built his career, built his character, and built his reputation. So Sting was the real face of WCW, not Booker T.
And it was so interesting seeing Sting still wrestling right now. What was your reaction to seeing Sting debut in AEW?
Hey, bro, some guys don't want to quit, man. Some guys just don't want to leave it alone. And, that's what they do. Sting, I never thought I'd see Sting still, doing this at 61 years old. I just didn't think that. But I was talking on my show just last week. It's hard, sometimes, to walk away from this business. And then again, after you've done it for so long, you want to walk away from it your way. He didn't get a chance to do that in WWE, so now in AEW, he may feel like he got a chance to go out there and do it, and do it his way and walk away from it. But for me, I don't know, man, more power to those guys that want to go out there and do that. But I wasn't one of those guys that wanted to wrestle my whole life. I wasn't one of those kids that dreamed of being a professional wrestler as a kid or anything like that. I wasn't somebody that like Christian and Edge and there was in, WrestleMania 1 in the band. I was on the, watching some prostitutes going down the strip, you know what I mean? Man, so when I got into wrestling, it was, it's different, it's different for me than most of these guys. So I just look at it, so differently, seriously.
Do you think we're going to see Sting have a match?
All right, before we continue, now, when he mentioned Sting didn't get to walk away from wrestling in WWE on his terms, we all know why that is. Vince has a son-in-law named Triple Bitch, who basically is now his, in-law heir to the throne. And if you remember, WrestleMania that year, which we all do, because I watched it, Sting's whole storyline was just built up for Vince to basically bury him and bury the main man that stood for WCW. That's all Vince wanted to do. He had no intentions of Sting going over his son-in-law in that match, which, if he had a conscience and any kind of morals, and he did the right thing for the business and the right thing for Sting, because Sting is owed that and 10 times more. Sting is a legend. We're talking over 20 years of service to the business. He deserved to go over in that match. There's no excuse for Sting not to have won that match. And also, years ago, when I talked to Eric Bischoff on that podcast on a phone call, and he handed me that bullshit about apples and oranges and Sting's in a good place right now. And at the time, he was 52 years old, so he didn't need to win. Oh, yes, he did need to win. I disagree, Eric Bischoff. If you see this, Sting should have won. He should have went over. That would have been the right thing and the respectful thing, because Sting, of all people, deserves that respect. Because he's put in over 20 years in this business. It doesn't matter if it wasn't in whack ass wrestling entertainment's universe. He was a wrestler. The fans know he's a wrestler. The fans knew who he was long before he ever got there. So, like your Undertaker, Sting was a legend, and I think Sting's put in even more time than the Undertaker. More than 30 years. But let's continue.
You know what, man? For Sting to want to have a match, I wouldn't advise it. Okay? At 61 years old, I wouldn't advise it. It's just not, I don't know. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, to him, it might be worth it, but I don't know. I say wrestling is a young man's sport. That's why I got out. I said I was going to retire when I was 40. All right. And when I turned 40, I was like, man, I'm still pretty good, man. I'm like, man, I'm still better than the rest of these suckers on the roster, man. Why I quit now, So I pushed it until I was 45. And then I walked away from it. And I tell you, I don't itch to ever, put my boots on to go out there and do that ever again. I mean, I had a great run and I had a great time doing it. And I love, watching the young guys come up. I love seeing my students get a break and get a chance, But Sting, he's a guy, he was doing it before I was doing it, well before I was doing it. It's something that he's done his whole life. It's something that's in his blood. There again, not getting the chance to finish it properly in WWE. I remember when I went to WWE in 2001, and I don't know, you can go back and research it, but Sting did an interview. He said the reason he never went to WWE was because of the way they treated Booker T when he first got there. And he said, because he said I was disrespected by The Rock when I first got there, and he thought I should have been treated better. And what he was talking about was when me and Rock, we did our angle, and Rock goes, "Who are you?" And I go, "My name is." He goes, "It doesn't matter what your name is," And I go, I always looked at this as wrestling. I've never looked at it like it was a serious thing. And I think if Sting came there and he did an angle with The Rock would have perhaps did the exact same thing with him, but it's wrestling.
And there lies the problem. You see, Booker T, you don't see the goddamn bigger picture. Here's the thing. You came in there, yeah, it's wrestling. We know it's scripted, fine, but we're talking about the wrestlers, from the wrestlers' point of view. You are established talent. Sting is a legendary established talent. You do not bring in somebody like that, Sting or anybody else. You do not bring in someone like that to do an angle. And this wasn't The Rock. No, we're not going to blame The Rock. He was just doing what he was told and what he's scripted to do, because of his popularity and because of his promos, his catchphrases. This is on, as Jericho said on AEW months ago, this is on Vince McMahon's bad WWE creative. You do not bring in an established wrestler, even though he's from another company, and say, "Who the hell are you?" That basically destroys your stock and buries your character right off the bat. Booker T, that's what you don't understand and you don't see. You don't want that, and I think no wrestler wants that. And even the guys who didn't come to WCW didn't want that. Sting didn't obviously want that. That's why he never came. And of course, in a minute, I'm going to show you why. He didn't come. And basically, between Booker T, his attitude and his tone, and between Sting's tone, Sting, the wrestler, is more believable than Booker T, the company man. But let's continue.
And for him to have missed out on 15 years, maybe.
What the fuck did he miss out on? No, what he missed out on was probably the next 15 years of bad creative / bullshit. That's what he missed out on. He didn't miss out on shit. Sting was just smart. So again, you don't bring in a legend just to bury him. But like I said, we're talking about Vince McMahon here. Vince McMahon and Ted Turner a long time ago. This is how far this goes back. Vince McMahon and Ted Turner were friends. They did business. They had a parting of the ways. And of course, when Ted Turner bought the NWA, henceforth turning it into WCW, and basically began to compete with Vince, and eventually started beating him in the ratings, marketing, and also had the money and clout to attract his top guys at the time to come work for him, guaranteed contracts, more money. That was a itch in Vince McMahon's craw. And Vince McMahon has hated Ted and WCW ever since, especially during those 88 weeks when Raw couldn't get a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, because another company was beating the so-called machine. despite the product. So Sting, who's a legend, who was basically at the forefront of that, only reason why he was brought in in that WrestleMania match was to bury him. Was basically a slap in the face to Ted Turner, to every WCW fan that there ever was. So, Booker T, what the fuck did Sting miss out on? I disagree. He didn't miss out on shit. But let's hear the rest of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Of time because of that angle that I did with The Rock. I thought that was very, I don't even, what word should I use? Because I don't want to disparage him or anything like that, but I just thought that was a very unwise thing to do.
On the contrary, unlike you, Booker T, that was a very wise thing to do. But see, you don't see that. You're too busy being the company clown to see what's really going on. I mean, think about it. First, it was The Rock saying, "Who in the hell are you?" Then you forget the racism angle you did with Triple Bitch, and also Vince McMahon himself. That backstage promo that you didn't mention here, where he comes up to you and says, "What's up, my N-word?" Remember that? I do. That was a blatant slap in the face. And all those years, even the years that he paired you with Goldust, that didn't help your career much. That didn't help your career much either. I mean, come on, man. What are you smoking? I mean, besides Vince McMahon's crack, and I ain't talking about the crack pipe either. I'm talking about a different crack. Of course, Vince did have the Kiss My Ass Club, so I'll let you think about it.
Let's just say that. I miss out on all of that time of living out that Sting dream in the WWE. But I think it was a lot of guys were scared to come to the WWE.
Wrong. A lot of guys from WCW were smart not to go to WWE. They weren't scared. They were smart. See, that's what your stupid ass don't get. They were smart. They saw the bullshit for years after WCW was bought. They saw that dumbass WCW invasion angle. And remember, it wasn't just a WCW angle, it was a WCW ECW invasion angle. Because remember, Paul Heyman was bought in, all that bullshit. It was a WCW ECW invasion angle that wasn't going anywhere. It was a fucking joke from the jump. Just like WCW's last night in Panama City when Shane McMahon came out. I knew basically where this was going. Yeah, it looked exciting and a type, but that was it. Because the minute WCW Nitro went off the air for good officially, and you try to make a new logo and try to make it an invasion angle, months later, it was gone. It was done. It was disappeared. Nobody gave a shit. Bagwell didn't last long because he was gone. I mean, yeah, you brought in DDP, but you had Booker T, and you had DDP and a few others, but that was it. It was done. So nobody was scared to come to Whack Ass Wrestling Entertainment. They were just smart not to, because like I said, they know how Vince McMahon operates, and they know Vince McMahon's bad bullshit so-called creative. So there you go. Sting, if Sting came in 2001, basically his character would have been buried and destroyed, and basically would have been a watered down version of what it used to be, or it would be a watered down version of the real Sting that we all know and love. So once again, Sting was smart, and in a few seconds I'm going to show you why.
Sure.
And a lot of guys did not want to have to, put in the work and really, establish themselves.
Okay. Once again, put in the work. They already put in the fucking work. They've been putting in the fucking work some of them have been putting in the work for over 10 years, 20 years. Why do they need to put in work for a goddamn circus like WWE? They don't need to put in the work. They've already put in the work. See, this is why this whole system of making it in the locker room, establishing yourself all over again with a so-called different audience, when that same audience was watching Nitro anyway back then, and they already knew who you were. Same goes for you, Booker T. They already knew who you were. So it doesn't make any goddamn sense for them to script a promo for The Rock saying, "Who in the hell are you?" when everybody knows who the fuck you are in the first place.
All over again. But me, I was like, let me go up here and see how good I really am. You know, I wanted to challenge myself with the best workers in the world.
Oh, and WWE wrestlers aren't the best workers in the world, Booker T. I'm sorry. Trust me, no. The guys in WCW were the best workers in the world. The guys in ECW were the best workers in the world. The guys in Ring of Honor were the best workers. And you know who the real best workers are? Really? The guys in the Indies who have all the creative freedom to showcase their skills, even though you can't watch them on TV. Those are the best workers in the world. The real wrestlers are the best workers in the world. Not so-called circus clown superstars, which is what they're called in whack-ass wrestling entertainment, or your so-called bullshit universe.
But for Sting to do it now at 61, I just think is very, very it's an unwise move to go out there and try to work with these young guys.
I remember that promo with The Rock. Who in the blue hell are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for the record, you were not offended by this.
No, man. I've never been offended by anything that I've done in wrestling because it's.
You notice how the son of a bitch smiles and just plays it off. No conscience, no self-respect, no dignity. I mean, come on. He can't see through the bullshit. I mean, he can't see through the bullshit that was just thrown in his face. And Booker T, that was a slap in the face. Trust me, that was a slap in the face to your career. That was a slap in your face. That was a slap in the face to your years of hard work and service to the business. No, not to WWE, but to the business itself. You should not, just like Sting should not, just like anybody from WCW coming there should not have to reestablish themselves. They were already established. Fans knew who the hell you were. That's why that line, that whole angle didn't make any goddamn sense. I knew who he was. And even when I heard that, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Are you serious? You actually are going to have him say that when he's carrying the belt that Ric Flair wore for decades? He wore that belt before the Four Horsemen, after the Four Horsemen, during the Four Horsemen, of course. That same belt, that was made and established by Jim Crockett Promotions. Yeah, remember them? The National Wrestling Alliance? So, Booker T, wake the fuck up, dude. I mean, come on. Quit the smiling. Like it's all haha, it's all fun and games. You know, it's not offended. It is offensive. It's offensive to the wrestling business. It's offensive to the wrestling fans. Because the fans I'm pretty sure out there probably saw that shit and said, you know, what the fuck? Yeah, that's Booker T. That's Harlem Heat. That's who he is. And even in one promo, I remember the Rock actually mentioned Juventud, which I was kind of shocked. Well, that's good. At least he knows who Juventud Guerrero is.
It's wrestling. It's not real. It's what we make it. We're entertaining fans. And
no shit. No, it's not what you make it. It's what your bitch boss, Vince McMahon, and his son-in-law make it. That's what it is. That's what it really is. It's what they make it. We know it's scripted, but you're trying to build a career. You're trying to build a character, and bullshit like that doesn't help your case much when you're buried on your debut.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of his character. And the thing is, I wish it would have been my shtick. You know what I mean? I'm serious. I wish I had stolen a lot of his lines, man. I'm serious. No, I'm serious. I mean, because I've never been a hater, man. I've never been it's just say, for instance, when Goldberg came in. And Goldberg wasn't a wrestler. He was a guy that was greener than anybody in the locker room. And then all of a sudden, he had the best interest He had the best music. He was making the most money. And you know what I said? Man, I wish I was him.
Well, that's a sad thing to say right there in of itself, because if you wish you were somebody else, you must have felt real insecure, and you must not have thought much of your own talent to wish you were somebody else. And for one thing, how the hell did Goldberg make the most money when Hulk Hogan was still there being the NWO, when Hulk Hogan was the highest paid guy? Of course, remember Bischoff resigned him to turn heel and probably had to double his pay. So I would say Hulk Hogan was the highest paid guy, not Goldberg. But that's all in theory. But now I'm going to show you why everything you heard Booker T say in regard to Sting is basically a total bullshit. And watch closely.
I talked with Vince McMahon. He was really good to me. He was really good to me, and but I just got this feeling that he didn't. I put it this way: all the guys from WCW that went to WWE when the acquisition happened. By then, to me, there wasn't a real WCW, because WCW was, for so many years, it was Hall and Nash, it was Hogan, it was Savage, it was Sting, it was Luger, it was the Steiner Brothers, it was a certain package of guys that were gone, and the package that he had left had dwindled down to about just a small group of guys who really. Great wrestlers, phenomenal talents, but they weren't with WCW for all these years, and mainstay kind of names and all that, and then I was watching what he was doing storyline wise when he'd have WCW against the WWF and the hostile takeover thing and that whole deal there. I'll never forget Booker T, making his first appearance on their show, and he came into the ring and he's making this big, huge fight, and the guys are flying all over the place, and then The Rock comes into the ring, and The Rock is hitting guys, the guys are flying all over the place, and then they come back to back, and then he turns around and they look at each other, and The Rock looks at Booker T and he says, "Who are you?" And, that one little comment is all it took to just bury somebody, in my opinion, like, Booker T. And, let's let the world know that you're a WCW guy and you're a peon here. It was going to require lots of work for Booker T to try to come back. And he did, because he's a talented guy. And after all the years that I'd put into wrestling up to that point, it just seemed like a gamble to me. I didn't trust how I would be used.
And there you go. Booker T, I hope you see this, and I'm pretty sure you have. And Vince, once again, put that in your pipe and smoke it right there. See, now you've heard the words of a wrestler, as opposed to all the bullshit that Booker T just said. Right there, it wasn't just a Booker T and the Rock angle. It was a lot of shit. Like I said, it was the invasion angle, and guys, even though they weren't mainstays, those same guys, I'm pretty sure watched WWE and saw the bullshit that was going down, didn't want to be a part of that, and they were smarter and knew better. And Sting, I disagree with you on one thing. Booker T has talent, yes, but he really didn't come back, because if you look at his career in WCW, and then you look at the bullshit he was booked in all those years in WWE, I'd rather much watch the Booker T, the WCW Booker T career than the post Attitude Era, ruthless aggression era Booker T. Because once again, you said it yourself, that one line that Rock said out of his mouth buried his ass from the jump, and he never came back from that. I don't care how many titles he held. You buried somebody who was an established talent, who put in, like I said, 10 years or more, just like Sting, who put in 20 years more service to the business. You don't bring somebody in and bury him when the wrestling fans obviously knew who the hell he was. And like I said, it goes back to the fans. Those fans watched Nitro. The same fans you see on Raw or SmackDown. And even in the audience, I saw a lot of WCW shirts, and I saw a lot of even Monday Night Jericho shirts. So they knew who he was. And for you to do that was just disrespectful and just fucking appalling. It didn't make any goddamn sense.
I'm not gonna. I wish I would have slipped on a banana peel and got in like that. I can't hate on the guy because he's freaking, a huge star and he's making money and that just happened for him. I cannot do that. Me and Goldberg, him and I, we're the best of friends. We're tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the way I am when I look at stuff like that. And I always have. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna stop it there. Best friends with Goldberg or not, like I said, to me, your career, the minute you entered WWE in 2001, the rest of your career was a fucking joke. Hopefully one day, maybe if you unlock your subconscious and maybe try to unlock it and get and maybe read some knowledge yourself, maybe you'll see that. You probably won't, because I understand, you became the resident houseboy, or what Malcolm X used to say, the resident house nigga. You like the money, you serve your slave master well. So, but hey, that's you. Y'all leave your thoughts and comments. Like, share, subscribe. All power to the people as usual. Peace. I'm out.